Hey y'all, what's going on? Okay, check this out. Now, this what I'm about ready to show y'all, where y'all see the title. I've known, pretty much about this. I'm telling y'all, I had great history professors during my school days. I wish, I'm quite sure they've all transitioned, but I wish I'd have a way to thank them for all that they taught us, and at least dropped a little seed in it, and you remember it later on if it's something that you would want to carry further. But anyway, I'm gonna show you, got a little video and a little bit of text. Actually, I have two deals here, and it gives a brief breakdown of the birth, because a lot of people, Africa is chopped up into this, and this country got that, and they got that, and it was the Berlin Conference. That's where it all started. Well, excuse me. That was the cutting board. It actually started before then. I think it's something like 17 years before that it started. But this was the cutting board. This is where the what Daddy say, the nut cutting started. So let's go ahead and get going here, and let me mute myself, and we'll play this little animation here, this little video, and then we'll get into the the meat of this deal here. Okay, let's go.
(1884), Berlin, Germany. The leaders of 14 European countries and the United States met at a conference. The aim of the conference was for Western countries to avoid warring among themselves over Africa. The superpowers wanted to ensure maximum control over Africa's resources by establishing rules by which to divide the spoils at the expense of the Africans who rightly own them.
No European nation state could be great without a colony that made many European states compete with each other, vie with each other to accumulate colonies in order to make them great.
The Berlin Conference would lay down.
Oh yeah, I forgot. This is from KLRN. That KLRN is our local Texas affiliate for the public broadcasting system. KLRN dot PBS Learning Media, common spelling, PBS Learning Media.org. Fair use, PBS, fair use.
Down terms for an orderly carve-up of Africa.
So they sat around a table amicably without the presence of any African, it must be pointed out, and they consulted amongst themselves in order to decide on the rules for occupation.
Across the continent, African peoples waged fierce wars in defense of their kingdoms against European encroachment. Diplomats, troops, and opportunists roamed the continent, offering truces and often illegal treaties to rulers of kingdoms whom they could intimidate or persuade to relinquish their control.
Violence should be seen on a spectrum, on a continuum of plunder, pillage, and rape that all the European powers engaged in, but they engaged in at varying degrees and at varying levels. And
now, most people, the only thing I normally hear, and I'm not jabbing or picking on anybody here, but mainly the only thing you hear is about Leopold II of Belgium. Was he horrible? Yes, but a lot of people didn't realize a lot of the butchery was done at the hands of other of Congolese people. were some of the Belgian soldiers and whatnot bad? Yes. But even even Congolese people will tell you, like I said, don't listen to me, listen to them. Who you think know better between us and them? They'll tell you that the majority of the savagery and the butchery was done by their own at the behest of Leopold's men. Was Leopold a bad person? Yes. Was he a horrible? Yes. Was the crime atrocious? Yes. Bloody? Yes. Necessary? I say no, but they said yes. Now, I've been putting off a world conquest thing video stream for years. I mean, every time I think about it and want to do it, something else pops up in my head, and it just, even though I can roll this off, I can just roll this off without even thinking about it. But this, like I've said plenty of times before, every first and second world nation, especially every first and second, and every now and again a third, but not too often, is their prosperity is built on the blood and the bones of the people before them. And they fought and they pillaged. And the first world people that live in first world nations right now are living off the spoils of generations before them, to the quote unquote bad things that they done to other people. And even the ones that talk about it and say how bad it is and horrible and this, that, and other, how many of them you think are willing to step up to give it back? To give up the way they're living now, to give it back. Exactly. Onward.
The most horrific exemplar of the violence of colonialism is Congo.
The huge basin of the Congo River in Central Africa is extraordinarily endowed with vast resources. This land, 2.5 million square kilometers, crisscrossed by navigable waterways, was extraordinarily rich in natural resources, brimming with coveted commodities like ivory, palm oil, timber, and copper. This region was also blessed with huge quantities of another highly valuable substance, rubber. Advances in the vulcanization of rubber made it more durable and less brittle, facilitating the invention.
Rubber was pretty much worth its weight in gold for a long time, even all the way up through World War II.
Of the pneumatic tire. Soon, rubber would become one of the most sought-after resources on the planet. The ancient rubber vines that grew wild over the equatorial rainforests of Congo had long been exploited by the custodians of this land. But now, outsiders were intent on plundering them. Following the Berlin Conference, Congo Basin was recognized as the possession of its sole owner, the King of the Belgians, Leopold II. Renaming it the Congo Free State, Leopold now personally controlled a territory 76 times the size of his home country.
Since childhood, one of the things he had craved was a colony. And so he created one for himself. And he did it by convincing other European leaders that he was going to spread Christianity and bring in, quote-unquote, civilization to the people.
King Leopold II's interests in the Congo were largely underpinned by enormous greed. And as a result of that greed, the Belgian Congo became the personal, private property of the King of Belgium. And the discovery of rubber became a godsend to King Leopold II.
Leopold ordered the rubber to be collected as fast as possible. Soon, vast areas were stripped of every single rubber vine. The mindless plundering of the land for its resources was repeated all across Congo Free State, the profits going into the pockets of one man, Leopold II. The environmental damage was only a tiny part of the story, and it pales into insignificance against the wider picture of corruption, crime, and inhumanity. In 1890, after touring the Congo Free State, the African-American journalist, lawyer, and historian George Washington Williams wrote an open letter to King Leopold. Published in newspapers throughout the world, it highlighted the horrors practiced against the black people there.
A large demand for the raw materials would necessitate changing the method of producing it, because the Europeans needed these commodities in large quantities. In the case of Leopold, he would impose a very brutal way of extracting the rubber.
Villagers were given strict targets for the amount of rubber they were forced to collect. Punishment for failure was brutal and drastic.
Quotas would be established for the Africans to provide, and if they couldn't provide the quotas, limbs were amputated, people's hands and legs were chopped off, wives were seized, for example, to force men to provide more and more of the rubber.
Leopold's private army of mercenaries, comprised of Congolese soldiers commanded by Belgian officers, policed the operation. Anyone who resisted was shot. Because ammunition was so expensive, severed hands served as proof that a corpse had been harvested for every bullet. When soldiers had fired more bullets than corpses, they severed the hands of the living, men, women, even children. Visual evidence of the brutality was captured by the English missionary Alice Seeley Harris. Her photographs appeared in anti-slavery pamphlets around the world. Despite Leopold's claims that the punishments were part of Congolese culture, or that limbs had been severed by wild animals, the photographic evidence was undeniable. Public outrage shamed the Belgian government into forcing Leopold to relinquish personal control of the colony in 1908. It's estimated that 10 million people, half of Congo's population, perished during Leopold's inhumane rule.
Thank you, Professor Gates. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay. Now, we know a lot of this here. But anyway, this is what's in the story. Now, let me show you guys a map. Let me show you guys a map of before the Berlin Conference and after the Berlin Conference. Let me pull that map up for you. Okay, now I'm gonna briefly go over this, but any of this, if you want to get into it in more detail, this stuff is easily found on the web. But I'm gonna stay within my wheelhouse. I know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know. Now, I do know this. See this area right here? This was called the Bantu states. Now you know where George Lucas got the Bantu from his Star Wars character and their clothing and all the other stuff. This was literally called the Bantu states. All this here, right up to about right here, because I know they were right at the southern tip of come on, brain, of the there it is, the Ayyubid dynasty right here. This was all Ethiopia, where it says Christian, all this right here, Kingdom of Ascom, all this stuff. This was all considered Ethiopia. This map is prior to the colonization, before Leopold and everybody else got here. This right here, pretty much all the way out here into the more desert region and whatnot too. Not that far north, because the Carthaginians wasn't having none of that. They wasn't having none of it. Everybody, we already know, Hannibal of Carthage and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, he was just as brutal. But I tell people anyway, they don't want to admit it. Look at your northern what you consider Northern Africans. Look at them versus your Central Africans and your like I say your Saharan and Sub-Saharan Africans. Look at them. Look at them. Look at your Saharan Africans. Then look at Sub-Saharan Africans. You can fib to somebody else, or you can even fib to yourself, but you can't fib to the world. The world know what's happening. This is considered West Africa, and they were under an imperial system. Right here. A lot of these regions where they don't have nothing, this was considered more like, tribal, nomadic regions and whatnot, stuff like that there. Okay. Now, this is, like I said, this map, and you can see the Persian Empire. You can see the Persians up here. The Fatimid Caliphate. If you don't know what a caliphate is, this is the perfect time to look it up. And you see right here that Congo was with a K, then it wasn't with a C. That came with the Belgians. But anyway, let's get to the next map. Okay, now this map was 1913. The next map is going to be on the eve of World War I. So you see there's a few subtle changes. All right, but you can see the color code here. This pink is the United Kingdom, the Brits. Hey, you know the old saying, and I don't think it's ever going to go away. The sun never sets on the British Empire. That means no matter where the sun is shining around the globe, is shining on something that belongs to the Brightons. Okay, you can see this here. This is all British rule. Okay. France, the French, French, Madagascar, the island. This is the French. This little bitty clip right there. I'm gonna see who gonna know what that little blue piece is right there. I want to see who gonna know what that little blue piece is right there. The Portuguese right here. And, they were big into the slave trade, too. But prior to the harvest. But that's something totally different. You see this little green spot here. That's controlled by Portugal. This part here. The Spaniards. Up here on the West Coast. This itty bitty little tip up there. They still sort of control that. Don't let nobody bullshit you. Spaniards, Italiano, right here. Italy probably was mad, like, man, we ain't got much of nothing, man. Dang. Hey, forget about it. You got Sicily, huh? Dang, start the freaking show. Italy. Deutsch, the Germans, you see that little spot there. Thought I was going to have to go there once. There, the Germans, the Belgians, y'all know who that is. Leopold. That's when, the crap that, even though by 1913, he'd relinquished pretty much control, but the damage was done. And Portugal being so, man, everybody sleep on the Portuguese, their effect on world history, the trade of goods, transportation, and slavery. Hell, I tell people, well, Portuguese. I said, dude, the Portuguese enslaved their own people. Oh, fun fact. Guess what? Everybody been enslaved at one point in time in history, including the Romans. So Belgium, anyway, Liberia, the light blue. See it right here? What do you mean? You mean Liberia was always? Liberia was Liberia. and Ethiopia. They're still, because remember, this was still Ethiopia. They held on to a nice chunk of their deal there. Now let's get to the last map. Okay, now this is colonial Africa on the eve of World War I. Y'all know World War I started in 1914, and the United States was the very last to get involved with World War I. But that's a whole different story. And I mean, just go through the UK. You see the color code, and I ain't even got to go through it. Some of it changed. You see, Tunisia is under the French and not the Italians. You know, I mean, there's some minor shifts. Cameroon, Spanish Guinea, Nigeria, Togoland, the Belgian Congo, Angola, German Southwest Africa, Northern Rhodesia. It's not Rhodesia anymore. There's a dog. I mean, there's also a dog. I remember when I was a little boy, they called this dog called a Rhodesian Ridgeback. They're African dogs. They were bred, and they called them Ridgeback because the way they hair cropped right down the middle of their back, from the nape of their neck all the way to the tip of their tail. Pretty dogs, but they said Rhodesian they used them Ridgebacks to hunt lions with. I'm like, what? He said, yeah. I said, that pretty dog right there. That pretty dog right there will kill you. They use Rhodesian Ridgebacks to hunt lions with. I had Native Africans tell me that. You know, they live here in the U.S. now. But yeah, Mozambique, Madagascar, Germany, East Africa. Because you see, you got, Germany doing their thing. Belgium still got the Congo, and then the independent lands. The independence: Kenya, Uganda, Anglo-Egyptian, Sudan. Now wait a minute, Anglo-Egyptian? Yeah. Remember I was telling you about Saharan and Sub-Saharan? Pay attention. Eritrea is under Italian control. Somalia is under Italian control. But I mean, it's a lot of stuff out here, folks. A lot of stuff out here. But I done took up enough of y'all time. I hope I haven't bored you to death. Sierra Leone. Don't go there. Rio de Oro. That means river of gold. Rio is river. Oro is gold. That's Spanish. See that? Spain. Rio de Oro. River of gold. Spanish Morocco. I hope this was interesting to y'all. Please leave a comment. If share it. And if you subscribe, you want to subscribe. You don't want to subscribe, don't subscribe. But it's all good. It's all good, folks. Y'all be good. Y'all be safe. Bye.